Hey BookTube, this is Friday Reads on Saturday. I'm Jen and I talk about audiobooks, and I would have been talking about them last night, except that it gets dark much earlier now and summer is coming to an end. And so my lighting was all wrong because lighting and me, we just don't get along. So anyway, let me tell you about what I'm reading because it's some good stuff. First up is The Delphi Effect. This is by Rysa Walker, and I've been reading it for a couple of weeks now. It just takes me forever to read a print book. I'm going to have to finish this by just sitting down and reading it in one sitting, I think, and I may be able to do that today. I'm only about that far. This is a review book that comes out in October. And I can't wait to get it on audio because Kate Rudd narrates it, and I wish I could get my hands on the audio arc, but I'll wait. I've pre-ordered it. So this is about a girl named Anna, and she is a person who can talk to ghosts, and they kind of hitchhike with her, and they kind of latch onto her until she helps them with some unfinished business that they have. So there is a young girl whose ghost latches onto her, and this ghost was murdered, and so she wants Anna to go talk to her grandfather about who murdered her because she knows who it was, and she wants her grandfather to solve the murder because he's a cop. So Anna reluctantly lets this ghost kind of hitchhike with her, and this leads into some weird stuff that gets into government conspiracies. And Rysa is really good at that. Rysa is a friend of mine, and she is so good at the intricate details of a plot. So this is starting to get into that. Like I said, I'm only that far in, but it's good. And the reason I know it's good is because I sat to read it the other day. I just got started reading it, and I sat there reading, and then I looked up and I realized an hour had gone by and nothing had drawn me out of the story, which was huge. So when a print book can do that for me, that's a sign of a good book. So yeah, good stuff going on. Then I have two things going on audio. I have a review book called Ship the Kids on Ahead by Bill Stokes. Bill Stokes is a guy who was a newspaper columnist, and this collection of short stories was published in print in 1968. And I don't know if it's his son or his grandson, Paul, has published it on audio. And it's narrated by a whole slew of narrators, including the author. Well, not the author, but the guy who, the grandson or the son. And so it's very anecdotal, and actually he tweeted me and said, how do I get someone to review an audiobook? And I said, well, ask. You just need to ask. So he said, will you do it? And I said, sure. So they are very anecdotal and kind of like little slices of life. And they're not really like short stories like 30 pages of a short story. They're like 2 pages. So they're very fast, very quick, little observations of life, and they're kind of entertaining and a little bit funny. And anyway, so I'm listening to that, and it's not very long. So I should probably get through that, I don't know, by the end of today probably. And then I'm also listening to TheDarkest Minds by Alexandra Bracken. And I'm re-listening to this. I think I've read this twice now, but I don't remember it. Maybe I've only read it once. I can't remember, but I can't remember. But I picked this up because Michaela at Michaela Eve Reads, whom I love to pieces. I love that girl to pieces. I wish she lived next door to me. Except I wish I lived next door to her, because right now in Australia, it's turning into summer. And I would love that. And she's in Melbourne where there's a beach. Okay, so she put out a video saying, what should I read? What should I read? And by the way, I know Jen's going to tell me to read The Darkest Minds. Well, yeah. So I said, hey, I'll read that with you if you want. And so we're buddy reading it. So it's kind of fun. I love these characters. They are just wonderful. But a couple of things I've noticed. And the first is that I had not remembered that it was such a brutal world in which this is set. And I was thinking about the fact that Alexandra Bracken had to live in that world while she was writing the book, and that could not have been easy. This is a world where a virus, I think, went through the children population, the kids in the United States, and probably the world, and everybody died, except for a very few. And the very few that didn't die have powers now. And they range from just being really smart and kind of a prodigy with numbers and, figuring stuff out, to they can blow stuff up. So adults get so paranoid and so frightened of what these kids can do that they relegate them to internment camps where the children are pretty much treated like animals. And horrible stuff. There are bounty hunters that hunt these kids down if they escape or if they just haven't been discovered yet. And it's a bad situation. It's a dystopian in that it's set in a future U.S. where the president is very corrupt and has kind of legislated himself into lots more power than what he originally had. So it's just a very brutal world. And I had not remembered that. And the thing that balances that is these characters. It's this group of kids. Ruby, who's the main character, and the book is told in first person from her perspective. So Ruby, Liam, Chubbs, and Zoo. And they're all in this black minivan that has been beaten all to pieces. I mean, she refers to it as a toy that got dropped down a dishwasher disposal and brought back out again. That's what the car looks like. So it's a black minivan, and anyway, it's the banter that goes on between these kids. They're kids, so it's fairly light. Zoo is I think she's 11, and then Liam is 18. So there's a big age range going on there, and they're just delightful. They're just delightful characters. The way that they are, the optimism and the pessimism, and just the way that they figure stuff out is just really good. So I love this book, and I can't recommend it high enough. I know it's a YA, but it's just because of the age of the protagonists. It has nothing to do with the quality of the book or who it's directed towards or anything like that. So that is what I'm reading this weekend, or at least the rest of today, which is Saturday, and tomorrow, which is Sunday. So tell me what you're reading. I would love to hear what you're up to. So let's talk about all that in comments. And that's it for now for me. I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Have a good weekend.